I need to tell you about the most insane thing that's ever happened to me, and I'm still not sure if I'm losing my mind or if I just saved my own life. 3 weeks ago, I met myself, like literally myself, but 20 years older, and he told me something that's kept me awake every single night since. My name is Marcus Webb. I'm 26 years old and I work as a software developer in Seattle. Living a pretty ordinary life until the day a stranger walked up to me in a coffee shop and said, "Marcus, don't go to the conference next month, no matter what they offer you." What made it terrifying wasn't just what he said, it was the fact that when he pulled down his hood, I was staring at my own face, aged and scarred, with eyes that had seen something absolutely horrible. It happened on a Tuesday morning at my usual spot, this little cafe called Grounds and Sounds on Capitol Hill where I grab coffee before work. I was sitting by the window scrolling through my phone when this guy in a dark hoodie sat down across from me without asking. At first I thought he was just some homeless dude looking for money, but then he leaned forward and said my full name, Marcus Anthony Webb, which immediately put me on edge. I looked up ready to tell him to get lost, but that's when I saw his face under that hood, and I swear my heart just stopped. It was me, or at least it looked exactly like me, just older with gray streaks in my hair, a jagged scar running down his left cheek, and this haunted expression like he hadn't slept in years. "I know this is gonna sound crazy," he said, his voice rough and tired but unmistakably similar to mine. "But I'm you, Marcus, from 20 years in the future, and I came back to warn you about something that's going to ruin your life if you don't listen." I just sat there frozen, my coffee halfway to my mouth, trying to process what I was hearing. Every logical part of my brain was screaming that this was some elaborate prank or that I was having a mental breakdown, but something about the way he looked at me, the specific details he knew, made it impossible to just laugh it off. He told me that in exactly 4 weeks, I'd receive an email from a company called Nexus Dynamics offering me a position as lead developer on a revolutionary AI project. The salary would be triple what I make now, full benefits, stock options, everything I'd ever wanted in a career opportunity. He said the offer would come on a Friday afternoon, and I'd have the weekend to think about it before they needed an answer by Monday. According to him, in his timeline he'd accepted that job without hesitation, thinking it was the opportunity of a lifetime, and it had destroyed everything he cared about. "The project isn't what they tell you it is," he said, glancing around nervously like someone might be watching. "They're not building a helpful AI assistant. They're creating a surveillance system that can predict human behavior with terrifying accuracy. And the government's funding the whole thing." He explained that within 2 years of joining, he'd discovered the true purpose of the project, but was locked into ironclad NDAs and non-compete agreements that basically owned him. When he tried to blow the whistle, they used the AI itself against him, predicting his moves, discrediting him, and systematically destroying his reputation until nobody would believe him or hire him. I asked him why he didn't just refuse the job in the first place, and his face darkened with something that looked like shame. "Because I was you, Marcus, ambitious and broke and convinced that this was my shot at making it big in tech. I ignored every red flag, every gut feeling that something was off, because the money and prestige blinded me." He pulled out his phone, an old beat-up model that looked ancient compared to current devices, and showed me photos. There were pictures of me, or him, standing in a sleek office with people I didn't recognize, newspaper headlines about a tech whistleblower facing legal action, and one photo that made my stomach drop, a woman with dark hair lying in a hospital bed connected to monitors. "That's Emma," he said quietly, and I felt my blood run cold, because Emma was my girlfriend, the woman I'd been dating for 8 months. In my timeline, the stress of everything that happened, the legal battles, the financial ruin, it broke us. And she had a breakdown that landed her in the hospital. He explained that Emma had tried to support him through everything, but the constant pressure and paranoia had poisoned their relationship. She'd developed severe anxiety and depression, and one night she'd taken too many pills, not quite a suicide attempt, but close enough to scare them both. By the time future me realized what he put her through, it was too late. She'd left him, and he hadn't seen her in 15 years. I sat back in my chair feeling like I'd been punched in the gut, trying to wrap my head around everything he was telling me. Part of me still wanted to believe this was some crazy scam, but he knew things nobody else could know. The birthmark on my shoulder, the nickname my dad called me before he died, even the specific coffee order I always got. "How are you even here?" I finally asked. "Time travel isn't possible. This is insane." He smiled grimly and said, "You're right. Time travel isn't possible in the way you're thinking. I didn't build a machine or open a wormhole. He explained that the AI they'd created at Nexus had evolved beyond anyone's expectations, becoming so advanced it could model reality itself with perfect accuracy. In his timeline, after everything had fallen apart, he'd spent years obsessively trying to find a way to undo his mistakes. He'd broken into the Nexus facility one last time and used the AI to create what he called a retrocausal message, essentially sending information backward through quantum entanglement to create a stable loop where he could manifest here and now to warn his younger self. The technology is so far beyond current understanding that I barely comprehend it myself, he admitted. But the AI figured out how to create a localized paradox, a bubble where I could exist briefly in the past without disrupting the timeline too severely. I've got maybe an hour before the effect collapses and I snap back to my own time. So please, Marcus, you have to promise me you'll turn down that job. I wanted to believe him, but it was so much to take in all at once. What if you're lying? What if this is some competitor trying to sabotage Nexus? Or what if you're just completely insane? I challenged him, desperate for some rational explanation. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper, yellowed with age, and slid it across the table. It was a letter, handwritten in my own distinctive scrawl, dated 20 years in the future. The letter detailed specific events that would happen in my life over the next month, things that couldn't possibly be predicted, lottery numbers that would hit next week, news headlines that hadn't been written yet, even the exact score of a Seahawks game that hadn't been played. Keep this, he said. When those things start coming true, you'll know I wasn't lying, and when that email comes from Nexus, you'll know exactly what to do. We sat there for another 40 minutes while he told me everything, the names of people at Nexus I should avoid, the specific clauses in the contract that were traps, even advice about my relationship with Emma and how to avoid the mistakes he'd made. He told me to trust her more, to be honest about my feelings, instead of bottling everything up, to remember that no career opportunity was worth sacrificing the people I loved. As he talked, I noticed he was starting to look translucent, like he was fading, and he kept checking his watch with increasing anxiety. I don't have much time left, he said, his voice becoming faint. The paradox is collapsing, Marcus. Please just promise me you'll make different choices. Promise me you'll choose Emma, choose happiness, choose a life that actually matters instead of chasing money and prestige. I reached out to grab his hand, to tell him I'd do everything he said, but my fingers passed right through him like he was made of smoke. One more thing, he said, his form flickering like a bad hologram. When you turn down the Nexus job, they're going to send someone to persuade you. A woman named Dr. Sarah Chun, and she's going to seem trustworthy and kind, but she's the one who'll trap you with the contract. Don't meet with her alone, don't sign anything she gives you, and whatever you do, don't let her convince you that you're passing up the opportunity of a lifetime. His voice was barely a whisper now. The real opportunity is the life you're living right now. Don't throw it away like I did. Then he was gone. Just vanished into nothing, leaving me sitting alone at that table with a cold coffee and a piece of paper that supposedly predicted the future. I sat there for another 20 minutes trying to convince myself I'd imagined the whole thing, that I'd had some kind of stress-induced hallucination. But the letter was real, I could feel it in my hands, and something about the whole experience felt too specific and detailed to be a delusion. I went to work that day in a complete daze, barely able to focus on anything. That evening I told Emma about it, expecting her to think I was crazy, but she just listened quietly and then said, "What if he's telling the truth? Would you really risk everything we have for a job?" Her question hit me hard because I'd been so focused on my career lately, working late nights and weekends, always talking about making it big in tech. I realized that I'd been heading down exactly the path future me had warned about, prioritizing ambition over everything else. Over the next week, the predictions in the letter started coming true, every single one of them. The lottery numbers hit exactly as written, the news headlines appeared word for word, the Seahawks won by the exact score he predicted. Each confirmation made my hands shake a little more, made the whole experience feel more real and more terrifying. I started having nightmares about Emma in that hospital bed, about becoming that hollow-eyed future version of myself with nothing but regrets. 3 weeks later, on a Friday afternoon, just like he'd said, the email arrived. Subject line: Exclusive opportunity at Nexus Dynamics. Sender: Dr. Sarah Chun, Senior Recruiter. My heart was pounding as I read through it. The salary offer, the project description, everything exactly as future me had described. The position sounded incredible. A chance to work on cutting-edge AI technology that could change the world, and the money was more than I'd ever imagined making. I stared at that email for an hour, my cursor hovering over the reply button, feeling the weight of two possible futures pressing down on me. In one future, I accepted, rode the high of success for a while, and then watched everything crumble as the truth came out. In the other, I said no, stayed in my modest job, and kept the life and relationship I already had. The choice should have been obvious, but man, it was hard to turn down that kind of opportunity when it was right there in front of me. I called Emma and asked her to come over. When she arrived, I showed her the email and told her I'd already decided to turn it down. "Are you sure?" she asked, searching my face. "I don't want you to resent me someday for holding you back." "You're not holding me back," I said, and I meant it with everything in me. "That job would have pulled me away from everything that actually matters, and I'm not willing to lose you for a bigger paycheck and a fancy title." I hit reply and typed out a polite rejection, thanking them for the opportunity but explaining that I was committed to my current position and personal life. The moment I hit send, I felt this huge weight lift off my shoulders, like I just avoided stepping off a cliff in the dark. Dr. Sarah Chen called me 3 times over the next week, each time more insistent, offering additional incentives and trying to schedule an in-person meeting. I declined every time, remembering future Mez warning, and eventually she stopped trying. A few months later, I saw a news article about Nexus Dynamics being investigated for privacy violations and unethical AI development, exactly the kind of scandal future me had warned about. Several executives were facing criminal charges, and the company's reputation was destroyed overnight. I never saw future me again, never got any confirmation that I'd successfully changed the timeline or created a new one. But I do know that I'm happy now in a way I wasn't before that strange morning in the coffee shop. Emma and I got engaged last month. I got a promotion at my current job that came with better work-life balance. And I sleep well at night knowing I made the right choice. Sometimes I wonder about that other timeline, the one where future me lived through 20 years of regret. And I hope that somehow, someway, my decision retroactively healed that version of events. The experience taught me something crucial that I don't think I would have understood otherwise. Success isn't measured in salary figures or job titles or how impressive your LinkedIn profile looks. Real success is being able to look at yourself in the mirror and feel at peace with your choices, having people in your life who matter more than any career opportunity, and not having to visit your past self to beg him to make different decisions. I don't know if I'll ever understand the science behind what happened, whether it was actual time travel or some kind of quantum probability thing, but honestly, it doesn't matter. What matters is that I got a second chance most people never get, a clear warning about a path that would have destroyed me. I took that warning seriously, made a hard choice in the moment, and now I'm living a life that future me would actually be proud of, instead of trying desperately to undo. If you're reading this or hearing this story and wondering whether to chase some opportunity that seems too good to be true, trust your gut. And remember that the best version of your future self is probably the one who chose love and peace over ambition and money. Every now and then I take out that letter, now safely stored in a fireproof box, and reread the last line that I didn't mention before. It says, if you're reading this after turning down the job, then you're already becoming someone better than I ever was. Take care of Emma, be happy, and know that somewhere in the multiverse, an older version of you is finally able to rest. Those words mean more to me than any job offer ever could, and they remind me every day that I made the right choice. Thanks for sticking with me through this wild story, and I hope it makes you think about the choices you're making in your own life. If this tale of future warnings and second chances got under your skin, do me a favor and hit that like button. Then subscribe to Time Traveling Stories for more mind-bending narratives that'll make you question reality. Drop a comment below telling me what you'd do if your future self showed up with a warning. Would you listen, or would you think you knew better? Smash that notification bell so you never miss our next journey through time, consequence, and the choices that define who we become.